Hello everyone, Theodore Burns here for week 4 of my lap walkthrough series for the IndyPro2000. This week we're at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, back on the road courses. This week I did a 117.672. Conditions here, 74 degree air, 75 degree track. I believe that's 24 and 25 C respectively. Minimal wind, 25% usage for the Hotlap. I built the setup using 50% usage. Yeah, so without further ado, I will play through the lap in real time, and then we'll go through corner by corner. So there we have the lap. Now we can go through, take a little bit closer look at it. First, I wanted to make a couple notes on the setup this week. So I made a couple changes to the baseline, listed them in the note section within the setup itself. One note I'd like to say, if you're a little bit more of an advanced driver, you may want the car just a little bit more free. You may find it understeering just a touch. So in that case, I would recommend playing around with the toe a little bit, maybe give a little more toe out in the front, a little less toe in the rear, and or playing with the aero balance a little bit. It's at maximum downforce right now, same as the iRacing baseline. I would recommend maybe trimming out the rear wing a little bit, get a little bit more, front end, a little bit more rotation. But I wanted to make sure the setup was suitable for everyone and not, just neutral steering around, kind of freewheeling, over rotating around the track. So I think I personally, I'd prefer a little bit more free of a car rotating around, but I definitely wouldn't say this setup understeers. But just a note, a couple things if you guys are, maybe struggling a little bit with it or want to get just a little bit more pace out of it, I think that's the proper way to go. All right, that said, let's go down and take a look at turn 2, actually, which is the Andretti hairpin, the first actual brake zone for the corner, for the track. So coming up over the hill, I want to get set up on the far right-hand side of the track, knowing that this is one of the few overtaking opportunities on the track, so you may need to take a little bit shallower line into here if you need to defend. But on a, in clean air, if I'm not having to defend, I'm wanting to use the entire width of the track here. So what I'm looking for as a brake marker is I'm driving past the 4, I'm looking at the 3, but I'm actually looking for this white line that's coming right across the track here. And I'm going to use that as my brake marker, and it's going to be a very heavy application on the brakes. I'm going to come all the way down to second gear, but you notice what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and treat this as like a double apex. There's 2 curbs here throughout the corner, and I don't want to find a constant radius around. I'm going to try and V this off a little bit, but I want to keep it in tight. I don't want to what I don't want to have happen is to hit this first apex and end up going super wide. I want to, stay maybe a car off of the inside here. So it's kind of like a V'd off double apex, but I'm still kind of keeping a constant radius around there. So to start doing that, I kind of start pitching the car in towards this apex after I hit the brakes. So you notice I have my heavy initial braking, And once I get down, about past the one board, I point the car towards this apex, but you notice I'm not turning in yet. So I'm not turning in early and coming in shallow, but I'm just kind of pointing the car towards this apex. Once I get down closer, I'm going to start trail braking in second gear, and I'm going to get all the way down onto this first apex and try and follow this basically this curb around. And I'm going to use the speed that I carry in here with just a little bit of trail brake to keep the rotation happening with the car, but I'm going to use that speed to basically carry me out that car width that I'm looking for off of the apex here. So using that trail brake just to keep the nose down and keep the car rotating. And see, I'm ending up about at car width outside. I don't want to go too far out here because that allows for an over-under move into the corner. So especially even when you're defending, coming in a little bit shallower, you want to make sure that you don't go too wide here and really V this off because you're going to leave yourself exposed here up the inside. So now that I've gotten through there, I can see the second apex here, and I'm a little flat, so I'm going to start easing into the throttle just a little bit. I'm going to get up to about 50–60%, and I'm going to find the second apex here. So I'm just using this throttle to increase my radius and start driving out of the corner. I don't want to get in too soon because that would completely drive the car straight, and I end up running out of track on exit. Remember, I'm trying to still make sure I get to the second apex, which is all the way down, skimming the dirt here, getting the left sides right onto the red center portion of the curbing there. So I'm using that throttle, not full throttle to drive out of the corner, but to increase my radius, get all the way down there. And now as I come off of the corner, I'm going to start straightening my hands up and start feeding in the throttle. Same thing here, the car is still pretty loaded up and it's a very flat track here, so I don't want to get in the throttle too soon because I'll step the rear end out and lose my drive out of turn 2. So I want to still be very patient on the throttle here. This is still accelerating the car, but I want to wait till I get full hands straight before I get all the way full. And you notice I have just a little bit too soon there where I have to catch it, but I can use that curbing, no problem. Didn't lose much time, maybe a hundredth or so coming out of that corner. So we'll play back through one more time in real speed from the chase camera. All right, coming now to turn 3, which is the first right-hand corner on the track. Where are we at? Cockpit view, there we go. So my approach for this corner is I want to, again, maximize my use of the track, but in this corner I can use this entry curbing here, but I usually try not to get too far onto it because it can kind of kick the car a little bit. So for this corner, I'm driving in past the 2 board here, and that's about where I'm going to brake as a 2 and then turn in slightly after that. So one of the things about this corner is I don't want to go down the extra gear because what ends up happening when I go down to back down to second gear is I end up over slowing and over rotating the car, and it just becomes a handful in here. So I want to really try and roll this best I can in third gear, and it's gonna maybe push just a little bit at the apex. So I want to make sure I'm really disciplined with my throttle application, that it doesn't come too soon in this instance. And this is purely because I want to roll that speed all the way into the corner. I don't want to over slow and I don't want to over rotate it because it is a very flat, if not slightly off camber here, and so going down that extra gear will kick the rear end out just a little bit too much. So the other thing about this entry here, it is kind of still on a curve from turn 2. We're still kind of in a curve. It's not a very straight approach. So because of that, I want to have very slow hands as I turn into the corner here. So you see it's very slow turn in. I'm not turning in early and getting down there, but I'm not turning in very late. It's a very smooth but very slow hand turn in. So you get all the way down. I'm using just that little bit of trail brake to make sure I get all the way down to the apex. Same thing, I want to use all of the blue and white curbing, get it right up to the red, but I want to try not to hit this because it will lift up the car and upset the platform, and then you'll end up sliding the tires, not getting the drive out. So I get all the way down right to that, and once I get there, I can start easing back in the throttle and just managing the track out with my hands, even at full throttle. And that's just because the approach with the slow hands, I can get into full throttle very quickly, use all of that curbing on the exit. In this car and track, you can actually touch the dirt a little bit, but you usually don't want to, because especially if you're following someone, you may push off there, and it's just not quite ideal. So we'll watch this through one more time, real speed from the chase camera. And you'll notice going through turn 3 there, I can get a good run out because the revs are high enough in third gear if I roll the speed through properly that I don't need that downshift to get that drive out. I have plenty of power. I'm still in the power band going through that in third gear. So now coming up to turn 4, second right-hander. This one's much faster, and we have a very straight approach. I'm going to maximize the track coming into this corner, and I'm actually going to drive out onto this blue and white entry curbing. And I'm going to kind of use this curbing as my reference for when to turn into the corner, and it's going to be just a dab of brake coming into here. I want to try and roll as much speed as possible on a hot lap when the fuel's all burned off. This may even be down to just a lift into this corner, especially if the track conditions allow for it. So that said, I want to stay in third gear into the corner. I don't want to shift up to fourth, and you probably will be hitting the limiter coming into here, but going up to fourth just drives a little bit too far. The downshift will kick the rear end out. So I want to try and keep it on the limiter in third gear through here until I get to the apex and get the drive out, because you do want to be at third on the apex. If I take fourth gear all the way through here, I end up pushing wide and the revs are too low on exit. So I want third gear from the apex out, but I don't want to go up to fourth coming into it, just because it'll push the car wide and upset the platform. So you see I give just this little dab of brake there on turn in, otherwise it's just a lift. And again, I'm aiming for the red, apex curb right in the center, and I'm going to get the right sides right up to it. Try not to kiss it, because it will upset the car a little bit. So at this point, I followed the very end of this curbing on as my turn and into the corner, again maximizing my radius in there, and then I use my throttle at this point to dictate my my trajectory into here. So assuming I get a good turn in, timing my turn in with that lift and a little bit of brake application to get the rotation in the car, then I'm going to use my throttle to gauge my corner radius coming through here. And so at this point I can get full on throttle before I actually get to the apex curb here. And then I can straighten my hands up and I can carry this out all the way through the exit, which is ideal, which means I got the car rotated appropriately. By the time I get to the apex, I can use all of this exit curbing here, even just slightly onto the dirt without picking up the 1X, and get a good drive out down the straight here. So I'll play this through one more time from the chase camera, get an idea of car placement. All right, now coming back to turn 5. So turn 5 is interesting corners. There's a lot of banking into turn 5, so we can really use that compression to drive the car through there. So my approach for turn 5, again, I want to try and maximize entry, so I'm going to put the right sides onto this blue and white curbing on entry. It's very flat with the track, so I can use all that, and my brake marker is going to be about the 250. I'm using this white line coming across the track here as my brake marker. So it's going to be it's going to be a heavy brake, but it's going to be pretty quick. I'm going to start to ease off this pretty quickly. And I'm kind of turning in just prior to the end of the curbing there. And what I'm looking to try and do is I want to apex just after this red the red curbing here. So I want to get I don't want to get down onto this blue and white too early. I want to get down onto it and have my tires clip just at the back side of the red apex curb there. So it's kind of like a late turn in, and that allows me to get the car in and fully loaded into the banking right here, because there's not a whole lot of banking here on entry. It's more, more going uphill, kind of in the direction that the car is pointed right now. So I want to get the car rotated all the way down into that banking so I can use that compression to then get the drive out. So you see how quickly I bailed out of the brakes there, and I'm just being very patient on my trail brake, trying to roll that speed in. And you see that I get all the way down. I'm able to get in throttle pretty aggressively right when I get to this apex point, which is just after this red curbing here. And you'll see that I get all the way down on just kissing the dirt just after that red apex curbing there. And then by that point, I'm fully in the compression here, so I don't need to be scrubbing the front tires. I can just steer out of this with full throttle and just manage my exit. So one of the notes here on the exit of turn 5, you can use this this exit curbing here, but it does kind of drop off and drop away from the track surface. So especially if you come through this and get on throttle too soon or don't get the rotation, you apex a little bit early in turn 5, you're going to end up coming out here, and there's kind of like a big dip right at the start of this, and it can really upset the car, sometimes catch you out, throw you off, throw you into a spin whatsoever. So that's why I'm aiming for that really late apex, so I get this drive out, and I try not to use this curb. It's there if I need it, but I don't want to drive onto it because it's sloped away from the track. You'll see I get the right sides right up to it, but I don't actually go onto it on this hot lap. So play this through one more time in real speed from the chase camera so we can get an idea of that car placement, kind of where it hit the apex. All right, coming up to turn 6. This is a blind, very fast left-hander, leads onto the Rahal straight, which is uphill, so it's very important to carry as much speed through turn 6 as possible. So we have a very fast approach coming under the bridge and up over this crest. What I'm looking for is the 2 board. The 2 board here is kind of my brake marker, and similar to turn 4, this is going to be a real light stab of the brakes and very slow hands turning in. Because it's a fast corner, it's going to be very slow hands, and there's a lot of compression right at the apex. So the track really dips down into the apex. There's a lot of camber to it, but the problem is there's again that red curb right at the apex, but the red curb comes back up in the opposite direction. So it's kind of like a V down in there. So if I do end up clipping it just a little bit too tight, I end up hitting that, and I can damage the front wing, and it just really will rip the car around, send you right into a spin. So the last thing I want to do is turn in too much and get too shallow into there, but at the same time I want to try and maximize my compression there so I get the best run out I can. And it's kind of a difficult approach. And so it's going to start with putting the right side tires again onto this curbing, just a touch. I don't want to go completely onto it because it is still just like the exit of 5, slightly cambered away from the track, but I do want to get my right side tires just kind of like on the white and just onto the blue and white there. So I'm kind of like putting the right side tires straddling that transition. So I'm lifting, braking at the 2 board there, and very slow hands on entry. You'll notice I'm not doing much with the pedals. It's just very little minor adjustments. Not even to 5% on the throttle or brake, just to try and get my trajectory as I get my turn into the corner. And I'm kind of gauging my turn in just as I give that little stab of brake. You'll notice I get all the way down here into the apex. You notice that I get down. I'm not too tight, so I'm not hitting this red curb, but I get down just enough, and at that point, once I get to this compression, is when I'm going to ease into the throttle. I get in just a little bit too soon there, so you see me kind of ricochet off, and I can't quite get to full throttle yet, and I end up coming out here onto this exit curbing, which this probably cost me a couple hundredths going up. It was maybe 3-4 hundredths going up the straight here, coming out onto this curbing, because in this car it does end up bottoming a little bit, because again, just like exit of 5, this is cambered a little bit away. So it's here if you need it, you can catch it, but it will cost you just a little bit on your run out. So I try to put the right side tires just onto the edge of this curbing ideally. So but it's a very tricky corner to get right consistently every lap. It's just something you got to rep out and get that approach down. So I don't know, picking up a 1X. You get that if you end up going a little bit too far and you dip the tires actually into the dirt. So this is still a clean lap. Per se, but this all stems from the rotation and just getting in throttle just that little bit too soon. So you see, I know right away that I got in just that little bit too soon because I drove the car just a little bit too wide at that apex. So that's, I need to hesitate just that, just that split second longer before tipping into the throttle, and then I wouldn't be running out of track here on exit. But as you can see, I can still get full throttle and drive out of that just fine. Try and carry as much speed up the straight here as possible. Let's play through that one more time in real speed from the chase camera. Right, so get up to the top of the Rahal straight, and now we have a very tricky approach to one of the most iconic corners in America, the Corkscrew, which is turn 8. So this is technically turn 7 here, right at the top of the hill. Corkscrew is turn 8. So my approach as I'm coming up Rahal is I'm going to stay to the left, follow this curbing here on the left side of the track, still flat out, and then I'm going to come across and you can see the 3 board here, which denotes basically this 3 board is basically the apex of this turn 7. And so what I want to do is I want to turn the car back right and brake and start braking just a little bit before this curbing at turn 7 and kind of brake almost a little bit like on an angle down into the corkscrew. I don't want to completely pull the car hard to the right through turn 7 because it is already starting to slope downhill into the corkscrew a little bit, and if I pull it too hard to the right, the platform's just not settled to then be able to turn and fall off the cliff that is the corkscrew. So I end up braking once I see this curbing. I brake, maybe a car length prior to actually arriving at this, and I'm kind of using this curbing and this brake marker as my point there, and I get the right sides all the way up onto this curbing, and so now is where I get this trajectory right that I'm kind of saying, where I kind of point in towards the corkscrew. So I don't want to follow this curbing and kind of bend this around to the right. I want to start aiming it down to center track, and then turn in from center track into the corkscrew, because you can see we have all the elevation here to deal with already. So this isn't a super heavy brake because we are cresting up over the hill and we are having to steer the car a lot. So it's only about a 50-60% brake. It's going to be a little bit longer, a little bit lighter brake zone. Coming down to only second gear for into the corkscrew, and you notice I start to turn in from this mid track, and basically I want to get the left side tires right onto the dirt here and get the car completely rotated before it starts falling off the cliff here, because the right sides are going to get really light, and I want to make sure that I stay inside of the cut back to the right. So I don't really have a great spot of how much to turn, where to aim through here. It just kind of comes with for me with repetition. A lot of guys will say, oh, aim for this tree or aim for like the gap in the trees here. But honestly, I'm not really looking at that. I'm more looking at the apex, trying to get the amount of rotation through here and just kind of anticipating where the corner is going to come back. And I'm my eyes are searching for that curbing as soon as I get through it. So let the car rotate through the apex here just a little bit. I'm going to give it just a little bit of throttle to kind of squat the rear as I come up over the crest. And so the car's going to get really light, and it's going to be a quick transition in the hands back to straight, and then hold it straight basically as we come into the right hand portion. We kind of fall down into the corkscrew. So at this point, the right front tire is completely off the track, and so I'm loaded just a little bit on the left front, but primarily on the left rear tire. And so I'm going to really use the force feedback to feel this left rear tire. I'm going to manage the grip of the left rear because the right rear is going to get really light, and so I'm going to keep this left rear tire loaded as I drive it through the corner here. If I end up cutting the wheel, either way I'm going to upset that. I'm going to end up spinning because the rest of the car is in the air. So I want to make sure that I do everything to try and turn the car in just a little bit, keep that left rear tire loaded. I don't want to overload it and spin it, so I'm not going to be at full throttle just yet. but I want to make sure that I keep all the weight on that left rear tire, and that's what allows me to drive through this cleanly without skidding the tires. So, after I turn, I'm going to transition to straight, and I'm going to kind of drive down this with very straight hands. Because the track itself and the falling will help do the will help do the rotation that we need to get through the corner. So I don't start turning in until I can feel the front end start to grip back up here on exit, and the left side tires are fully loaded. Now the front lands, and now I can get to full power and completely drive out of the corner. So again, this is really managing just how the what corners are in the air versus what's on the track, and just trying to keep it as smooth as possible when we have something in the air, because any sort of movement in that moment is what's going to cause the car to over rotate, spin out, snap back. I'm sure everyone's experienced some sort of tank slapper coming out of the corkscrew, and that's I think the best explanation I can give for how to try and get through there consistently. So we're going to play through this approach one more time, real speed from chase camera, so we can see car placement. Right, so that was the corkscrew. Up next is turn 9. It's also called Rainey curve. So approach for Rainey, it's going to be very middle of the track. I'll see a lot of people like swing way wide, way out here, and then turn in. But with a downforce car, we really don't need to maximize our radius coming into it, because the track's dropping away. All we're doing is just we're adding lap distance, and we're just we're just driving into the portion where we lose front grip because the track's dropping away. So into Rainey, I want to start about mid-track, and this is also a little bit more of a defensive line too, so no one can basically drive up the inside of you into Rainey. So it's better from that regard too. So again, a downforce car, you want to be pretty tight coming through here. So as there's this really big kind of drop right here where the car gets really light and starts to go down, I want to make sure I don't completely just drive the car and get a little airborne here. So I'm going to give a huge lift right at this moment. And what this lift is going to allow me to do is allow me to drive down and basically catch where the track starts coming back. There's a little bit of compression right here, right prior to the apex, before we keep going downhill. But I want to get the left sides right up to onto this blue and white, and right up to the red apex curbing. And so I'm going to use the compression down here to kind of pull the car in at that point. But I need this lift right prior to this all the track dropping away right here. See, I use that lift, I get down into this compression, the car starts to turn in. I'm following one smooth arc, smooth steering. Once I get down here, I can start to ease in throttle. I don't want to get in too soon, as I know that I'm going to get right to my apex, not clip the red curb, but I'm getting right on my apex, but I'm still not getting full throttle because there's still a little bit of crest here and the track drops away. So not only does it drop away, in the direction of the track, it also drops away laterally here, and this curbing is very low compared to the track surface. And right here, there's also kind of, it starts to even fade away a little bit down to this curbing, and I want to make sure I don't end up on this curbing, because it can kind of upset the car, and it's hard to get it hustled back over before we get to turn 10. So I want to end up about my placement about here, just a little bit shy of running the right sides all the way to the white line and to this curbing here. It is there if you need it, but again, there's kind of a transition here, and it can upset the car. It's not quite as fast, not quite as smooth around. You can usually bottom the car there. So once I do get landed there, that's when I can get back in full throttle and start to drive back across the track, getting to turn 10. So let's watch Rainey one more time in real speed from the chase camera. All right, final two corners here, Laguna Seca. We got turn 10, which is a very fast right-hander. This is, I think, where the setup I built struggles the most. This is where I think you'll see a little bit change in downforce, change in that toe be most beneficial to get a little bit more rotation out of it if you need it. But it is pretty safe, and you can drive this as is, but I think there's a little bit of time left on the table with the setup as is through turn 10. So I will say that. Approach to this, I can get up here onto the onto the blue-white curbing, but it is pretty flat compared to the track, and we have a lot of elevation, a lot of camber changes to the track coming into this. So I don't really want to hit this if I don't need to. So I'm going to get the left sides just up to it and basically straddle the white line on the edge of the track. I'm going to use the 2-board or just past the 2-board as my brake marker, and it's a very light brake and very early. And so what my approach here is similar to turn 5 earlier in the lap, and I want to kind of point the car in and drive it down into this compression and then drive out. But like turn 6, the apex curb here comes back up pretty aggressively, so it is V'd down into there. So I want to make sure that I don't hit the right side tires onto the apex curb. But I do want to make sure I get all the way down onto the blue and white, otherwise I'm going to run out of track on exit. So it's very light, very slow hands on my turn in, get all the way down to this apex curb, not hitting this red curb here. If I end up missing this because I've turned in a little bit late and gotten behind the camber of the road, you'll have to be very careful not to get in throttle too soon, otherwise it's very easy to drive off the track on exit. And notice I don't even go quite to full. I have to give a little bit of check so that I don't end up out here onto this onto the curbing. You can use it because it's there, but the car does get a little squirrely. If you end up being loaded up as you hit the dirt, it's very easy to spin back across the track. I know a lot of people have lost it there. You can also pick up the 1X if you go hit the dirt. It's a great way to throw away a good lap coming to the end. So again, that's a little bit of an early turning, get to that compression, get onto the blue and white, but not the red apex, and drive out. One more time in chase camera. Right, final corner, turn 11. This is still a little bit of elevation here. It seems pretty flat, but there is quite a bit of elevation. The brake zone comes up a little bit as we get to the apex, and then it kind of drops away on exit in the direction the car's traveling, but also in the direction of the straight. So we do have to kind of take that a little bit into consideration. So I'm going to use the 2-board as my brake marker, using all of the track here. I can use this entry curbing if I need to. And this is I think the one corner on track where I actually end up going down into first gear. I will note that on this hot lap, I go down to first just a touch early, and that ends up over-rotating the car. So I end up free steering it through here. As you can see, I'm kind of the car's kind of self-rotating, which is why I'm checking it there. So I want to make sure I don't downshift to first too early, because it can upset the rear of the car like that. I want to make sure I want to get down to first, but I want to do it late. You can completely clobber this red apex curb here if you need to, but I want to make sure that by the time I'm coming off that apex curb, I have the car rotated. My trajectory is more down the straight, so I can start easing into the throttle pretty aggressively. So I get into it. Because the car was over rotating, I'm having to catch it just a little bit, but otherwise I'm just going to be unwinding my hands, minding the throttle, but getting in as fast as possible, because this is a long quote straight down through turn 1 and into Andretti. And it is one of the best overtaking opportunities. So we want to make sure we maximize our run out of turn 11. I end up coming out completely straddling this curb. You can get the right sides all the way onto the grass here and then come back across onto the track without picking up a 1X. So again, maximize our track usage, maximize our run out, get the power down as soon as possible. So yeah, it's brake at the 2. Don't go down to first too early through here. And there we have a lap around Laguna Seca, 117.672. Week 4 starts 2024. We're in the new year, so happy new year to everyone. And I will see you out there racing next week. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, anything else you need to know about the setup or track, and I will see you guys on track.